I'll start all that again. Hi. um, Name's Anusha for those who are going to watch later. I am a black woman with a black do-rag, a pink jumper, and with blue splotches. I'm holding a red mic. I am sat in my bedroom. Behind me is my bed and a very messy drawer. Um, so, as per usual, there are always tech issues. I think I should put that in the agenda at this point because it never seems to leave me. Um, whatever. Point being is this is the agenda for today. We are talking about what is going on in England as it pertains to benefits. But more importantly, and because this is a news channel, we are going to talk about how this past week I've just seen some white bullshit, but I think it's been perfect in illustrating why some of us, not all of us, not the people in the chat, but some of us need to refocus because it is unfortunate. Um, yeah, it is unfortunate on what is going on and what is happening. Um, what I will say is this stream comes with a trigger warning for disability, and I'm going to talk about death, but I'm going to skim past it because I too am not in the fucking mood. And I'm going to keep it light-hearted, but just know that these topics will be discussed. Yeah. I will also say with lives, the chat comes in quite slow. So if I don't see your comment or I don't instantly reply, it's because of that. But hello, people. Hello, Marrow. It's always good to see you. Speaking of, in a very funny pivot, the song you put on the vaccine fund was the fun. I don't think I've laughed so hard, babe. Like, of all Mariah's songs, that one brilliant. 10 out of 10. No notes. Support the Vacky Fund. Um, but yeah, that's the intro. It's very chill. I will stop and start a lot, but I also will continue talking. Um, so just know it's more of a conversation, a chat, that sort of thing. All right, let's get started. What is going on this week? What has happened this week? A lot. A fucking lot. Uh, if you are not in Britain and you have not heard the news, the government have released something called a green paper. So it is not official legislation just yet, but it is a proposal, so to speak. And said proposal was Keir Starmer's bullshit, our Prime Minister. The proposal was to cut billions of pounds in benefits for mainly those who are severely disabled to get them back into work because people are being overdiagnosed in quotations, and people need to, what did Keir Starmer say? do the moral thing and work for the economy. If you're a fan of this channel, you know that this is bullshit, and but this is coming. But I think what was really hard to sort of grasp was like the reaction. And I don't mean that to be mean. Like, I kept it to myself because I don't want to be like, you lot are overreacting, blah blah blah. But like, I think what felt different from now to other times when the government has cut benefits for people is just presentation. It is just Keir Starmer is somewhat good at PR. He knows what he's doing. And that was the difference between now and then. And also, to be honest, I think he's just said the quiet part out loud. But yeah, I saw this coming a mile off. And I think the tell for me was, trigger warning, the assisted dying bill. Yeah. Like, the way that hit that bill, so that is, if you don't know, is currently going through and being debated. And like, the fact that that is going through so quickly, again, we know why. That, for me, told me everything that I needed to know. Pause, laptop is dying. Mull on that between yourselves for a second. Yeah, OBS takes a bunch of battery, so I always need to keep it charged. Anyway, yeah, I think the assisted dying bill was enough to tell me that this government are fully just going ahead with eugenics, and there is no sort of there's no sort of show anymore. It is just, we're going full speed ahead. And I am not a professional. I think a lot of people think I know a lot when I know the bare basics and I know the names of stuff, but please don't try and ask me like the little details, because I'm still learning myself. But the main takeaways from this green paper is that they are changing the PIP process, and I think there isn't an understanding of what disability is. And a lot of people are kind of going in saying like, oh, they don't understand disability. No, they do. They just don't care. But a lot of the green paper, the proposal was these people are burdens. So yeah, that wasn't fun to read on a Tuesday afternoon. Again, I'm not a professional. I would go to trusted sources, people who do this for a living. I would go to them and say, hey, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think this means? Blah, 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 blah. I will say, as someone who I would call myself more of a sociologist, I can tell you what I think is likely to happen. I think that it is going to be a mess. I think it's going to be interesting sort of I'm not interested, is not the right word. It's going to be interesting to see how far this goes, because I do think this will go through, and I think that it is going to fuck up that it on sort of an individual level. They're going to have to sort of reverse certain things, but they'll be draconian on other things. I'm going to get rid of this. Hold on. Yeah, they're going to reverse certain things. They're going to go back on other things. I think that they're going to try and keep middle class white women really, comforted, because to be quite honest, they've been the loudest voices out of all of this, and I think that they're going to be the main target, and I'll get to why that is in a second. But whatever happens, it's not going to be good, because it's Keir Starmer. But what I have more knowledge on is what is happening right now. And I don't know if this should be a comfort, but I'm going to say it anyway. A lot of the stuff they proposed is already happening. A lot of the things that they said that they will do, move people from traditional benefits onto PIP and universal credit, force people back into work, cut people's benefits and say they have to work, give people who do work full time more than people who are unemployed. It's already happening. Do you know why I know? Because it's happened to me and my family. And on both ends, right? So I don't talk about my family on here. I don't, because it's very sensitive, and you know how people are, that people will sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? They will be repercussions depending on what you say. So I will keep it brief, but a lot of people in my family have been moved off their traditional benefits, which, mind you, we were told that we would be on this for life. That was it. We were going to be on this for life. There would be no changes. Every couple of whatever, you fill in a form, you say the thing, you get your money. Over the past 2 years-ish, roughly, we have slowly but surely been moved on to universal credit. Everyone. And I have people who are autistic in my family. I have people who are carers, blah, blah, blah. So, when I read the green paper, it all felt very familiar. Felt very like I've seen this before. I've seen this play out. But I think the difference is that the proposal of it is now happening to a protected class. Now people are panicking. And yeah, it is just hard to watch. And again, I'm not trying to be like, you shouldn't complain, you shouldn't protest, you shouldn't do this and the like. It is just kind of funny because people have brought this up in the past a myriad of times, and only now, when the threat is to the working disabled class, the legitimate disabled class, and I'm using these words purposefully, only now are we suddenly like gearing up, ready to protest. And like this week has been a lot of emotions for me. I'm gonna pause there. How are we feeling? How are we feeling? Are we good? I'm not gonna go too much into it. But before I go, we have a break, which will be 5 minutes. I think what is really frustrating is I saw a tweet today or yesterday, and it was like, guys, stop saying that people are going to die because, you know, it hasn't happened yet. I have articles from 2003 of people being found in their flat, people, you know, having mental health crises that they don't come out of. Like, it's happening now. And before I go, I think the purpose of the green paper, the purpose of this, was to tell people not to bother. Don't bother applying to benefits. Don't bother applying. Don't bother applying for help when you can just go to work. And that is what they're doing. They're trying to deter you from seeking state support. And it's kind of working. Again, why? Because I was literally about to go part-time. I was literally about to go part-time. I was about to sort of cut down my hours a little bit because I'm getting sicker, I'm not sleeping, and again, full disclosure, I'm on universal credit, but I also work full-time. Last year, I would get like a sneaky 80 quid, right? Now, I'm getting more than that. And again, the Labour government are testing it on a certain set of people before they publish things en masse. And look, the extra money's been great, but I've not spent a lot of it because I've been fucking scared. Because I'm like, is there an error? What's going on? No. The government are trying to keep me working. But me having more money doesn't mean I'm not going to get sick. So yeah, this was always going to happen. This was always going to be in the cards. I think if you see people's previous motives, if you see people's whoa, say that 5 times fast. If you see people's you know, like legislations, proposals is the word I'm looking for, proposals. If you see people's previous proposals, you will see that they want this like ramped up. So again, this has been happening for years. But why only now are we doing something about it? Post that in the chat. I'm going to have a quick 5-minute break and then we'll chat for longer. The only reason I'm having a break right now is because my oven is on and I need to turn it off. So yeah, put in the chat, why do you think people are only doing things now? And that's going to be the next bit that I'm going to talk about. And we're going to really get into what a legitimate disabled looks like. Alright, talk to you in a sec. I'm back. Again, we ask this question every time, can I be heard? Alright, so people have been chatty patty in the comments And I'm going to pick apart a couple of things, because questions have been answered, but I think you've also proved my point. So I'm going to go to this one here. Oops. Right. I'm going to work from the bottom up. This comment says, I also think this may be the case. Labour policies being virtually indistinguishable from Tory policies. Excuse me. Ooh, that's rude of me. Okay, let's try that again. I apologise. I just ate a pie. I think also this may be the case. Labour policies being virtually indistinguishable from Tory policies. I think people, especially when faced with a threat to their livelihoods, are noticing. Yeah. But there's a word there that, again, proves my point, is their livelihoods. Suddenly, the threat to their livelihoods, but the past 12 years, people have been deported. There's been a whole Brexit campaign that started and ushered in people like Nigel Farage, and people ultimately suffered because of his racism and the way that I would argue that started fanning the flame to fascism as we know it today. But now suddenly they care. Interesting that. All right, next comment. It says, I think these are two of the same. It says, why now? I think you have a point that is happening to more privileged of the underprivileged now, but I think there are other factors. We are seeing a rise in disability as a factor of COVID. Put a pin in that. So more people are needing benefits, and people need benefits. People include more privileged people and people simmering, bubbling horror after the 12 years of Tory austerity. Again, absolutely agree with you. But, big butt for that, actually. Talk about big butt. It's happening to more privileged people. But here's what I want to argue. Are they fighting for the right of disabled people to live, or are they fighting for themselves and people like them? That's all I want to know. Because I absolutely appreciate that people are feeling this threat and it feels scary and people are going like, oh crap, well, we need to move. Absolutely, fully, totally understand that sort of pain and fear that people feel. But if we could also agree that this has been happening for years now, and people have been suffering due to austerity, due to poor working conditions, housing conditions, people, the way that mental health has been treated in this country. Like, if we want to talk about COVID, let's talk about how the most affected by COVID, as said by Boris Johnson and his bag of cunts. Look, the first cunt of the day. It was said in 2020, 2021 that the most affected by COVID were black people and people from marginalized, like races, I suppose. And as soon as that was announced, suddenly a different sort of people thought, well, everything's fine now. Why is that? Yeah, like, I completely see what people are saying. I absolutely understand that people are feeling the threat. Again, that threat is due to the presentation, shout out to Megamind, of the way that this is being announced. But I would then counter argue that, like, where were you? Like, it's not like this hasn't been talked about before. It's not like this hasn't been argued about before. It's not like people haven't been fighting for it. Who are those people, though? And it goes beyond race. It goes beyond class. It even becomes like environment stuff, because, and this is a bit of a niche conversation, but when we talk about, for example, like black people suffering and black people suffering from their peers and the rise of racism, for example, a lot of the focus is on cities and places. Major trigger warning for the story about to come up. There was, bless his heart, this boy who got maimed by a classmate due to racism. I actually don't know what the outcome of that story was, but it was a racist attack, and the mum was someone, like, she moved here from a different country. Don't ask me which country it was. And a lot of people was like arguing, like, well, why did you move to Wales? And I'm like, did she have a choice? But my point being of that little tangent is, why is the sympathy and focus on people of a certain background and not of others? It's what I'm trying to get at. And yeah. And do you know what? Do I feel like being petty in this moment right now? No, I won't, because I said I'd be good this year. But that is kind of my point. And I think, going back to what I said earlier about the legitimate disabled person, let's pinpoint. I'm taking that pin out. We're talking about COVID right now. COVID, a lot of people have talked about it being the big divider. Like, if I know you're COVID safe or you take COVID precautions, then I have a very good idea what your politics are and who you are as a person. And you see me and Nusha, especially in this year of 2025, I would argue against that. Purely because I think a lot of people are leaning into politics that are so outdated, and they're leaning into practices that don't really serve us in this moment, because I think a lot of people are trying to deproblematize a lot of things that actually aren't very easy to talk about. Sort of things like mental health, for example. We talk about, like, I don't know, depression, anxiety, BPDs coming into the conversation, fair enough. And yeah, and it's not to pit people against each other or anything like that, but a lot of people are trying to sort of say, hey, this is a legitimate disability, i.e. I am valid too, blah 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 blah. Cool. Let's break that down a little bit, though. Valid to who? Valid to who? And I think, and it's, oh, hello policeman. I think what, oh god, he stopped outside my house. Oh dear. Okay. And I don't blame people for this, but I think what is happening is sort of the 2010s Obama era, everything is great, we got gay rights era of politics. I think it's sort of seeping into the things that we're doing right now. And I'm not saying that the representation and things like that aren't important-ish. Don't get me started on representation. We'd be here all day. But I think that we are taking lessons that we've learned from in 2010 and we're still trying to apply it here. I.e., a lot of people in our Lord's year of 2025, I'm not religious, but it's just a funny thing to say, are talking about, oh, I can wear a mask and I can still look sexy. Right. What's that got to do with anything? Like, I think the people that do kink have beat you to it, babe. Like, okay? And I understand sort of the, like, how it started. I understand how it devolved because people, you know, in public are losing social capital, so people are scrambling to get it, blah blah blah. Completely understand that. But what I'm trying to get at, I keep trying to pinpoint and hit, and I want this stream to be about, is when you have I fit in, I'm valid too, I'm legitimate. What you end up having is you have a binary, because in order for there to be a valid in our society, that has to be an illegitimate. In order for there to be good, there has to be bad. And so when people do things like, I look sexy in my mask, what you accidentally do, or maybe on purpose, it depends on how much of a cunt you are as a person, is, oh, well, there's an ugly type of masker. There's an ugly type of disabled. And I think what I'm really trying to bring home is the sort of assimilation, the empowerment thing that people are trying to focus and force into. It is going to discard you at some point, because the parameters of legitimate and delegitimate are consistently changing, i.e. COVID. See how I brought that back round? Because yeah, a lot more people are disabled now. A lot more people are asking for benefits. But what I think is happening is a lot of people are realizing that they are becoming the ugly part of disabled, and they are trying to get out of that. And you see it in the way that people are talking about what is happening with this latest green paper proposal, is that a lot of people are focusing on work. A lot of people are focusing on, oh, well, I work. I'm disabled and I work. Or I'm a freelancer. Or I'm a insert thing here. And if I lose PIP, then I'm going to be like those ugly disables. Again, I'm not saying that that's what people think forthright, or not everyone thinks this way. But what I am saying is that when those arguments are the only prominent ones, and those arguments are the only ones that are being touted and whatever in given all sorts of platforms, you are ultimately saying there is a hierarchy to the shit. That's a, you know, that's all I got. Like, yeah, and I think that is what's really sad to see, because again, I don't think everyone means to do it, But I'm going to pause and talk about infographics for a second. But a lot of people recently have been posting infographics saying, oh, this is what's happening to Pip. Okay. Yes, Pip is being changed. There's a stupid 4 points thing. There's the ridiculous things that a lot of people are going to end up being kicked off it. What happens then? Blah, blah, blah. Sure. What happens to people on universal credit, though? And what happens to people who are on traditional style benefits? What's happening to them lot? And I've said this on a video on Instagram, is that people need to be so intentional with their wording. Otherwise, what ends up happening is that you put people in that ugly category. You put people in that ill kind of category. And that's not okay. You know, the focus on Pip, and it is just a wording change at this point. I know that the reason why people are saying Pip, because those who are on the LCWRA, the low capacity work related assessment or something like that. Hey friend, how you doing, babe? They're being kicked off that's being abolished. And the majority of people on that style of universal credit are those who are severely disabled, are being moved over to PIP. But that's a lie. They're just going to be kicked off that. Anyway, beside the point. But my point is, we need a wording change. We need a working change. And if you don't have that wording change, you end up with bullshit. Really just gave me another point. When we said abolish the police, we meant abolish the police. We meant abolish the police. And again, I understand, and I'm talking in circles a little bit, but I'm trying to really get my point home. I understand why people do it. I do. I understand why people do it. I understand why people want to be heard, want to be seen. A lot of people are feeling lost. This is the first time that they've been marginalized in society. I totally understand why a lot of them fall to trying to explain their way out of it, to explain their way out of being discarded. I do get it. Trust me. Because, sorry. Nusha has tummy troubles. I'm like trying not to like do that on camera, but give me 10 minutes and then I'm gonna roll over. Yeah, but what was I saying? Oh, I can't remember. Talking in circles, infographics. Yeah, so I understand why a lot of people are like trying to explain, trying to infographic their way out of poverty. They're trying to infographic their way out of being discarded, out of being marginalized. I do get it. And the reason I say that is because I wrote a song called Burden, which was a whole song for me thinking that I could explain the way that my ex-roommate treated me. I totally get that. But I think the issue is who are you trying to convince? Who are we trying to convince? Because if they don't care, babe, then they don't care. So, like, might just be better to get on with it, you know? And I think that is something that a lot of people fall short, and even people with quote unquote good politics is, I think they can explain their way out of it, but like I was saying before, it ends up people trying to be the good disabled, even if they don't mean to be. That it's like, if I'm trying to explain, hey, I am valid even though I'm COVID safe, then, you know, it's like, okay, we'll accept these sort of COVID safe people, but only if you have this type of mask. If you have the other type of mask, then it's sods to you. Like, you can go get fucked, you know. And I'm gonna leave this on two things. One, on a hill of hope, you know, because we always get through moments like this. We always do. You know, you can get through Trump's first inauguration and blah blah. You can get through Trump's second inauguration and blah blah. You know, we can figure this out. It's gonna be fucking hefty, fucking weird, but we can get through it because we always do. And I'll even talk about how and why and things like that. But I want to talk about long COVID for a second, because so many people are missing the point. There is a certain collective based in Berlin, and that's all I'm going to say, because you probably know who I'm talking about, who I have a critique of. If they ever watch this video, hello, hi, I have a critique of you. The Berlin Long COVID Collective, whatever they're called, is very white. It's very white. And I don't think they even realise that whiteness, I kid you not, puts people off. It reinforces certain stereotypes. It reinforces sort of like the idea that certain illnesses only affect white people and things like that, but it really puts people off. But there's an aspect of that is so dangerous, because, you know, I don't know the girl that runs it or the person that runs it. I don't know them. I don't. So I'm not going to assume about their politics. But when your organising is really white, do you think other marginalised people that you quote unquote talk about in your posts, the black and brown people are going to be suffering from this the most? Do you think said black and brown people want to join your collective if all we see is white people? That's what I want to know. Like, I'm being dead serious. This is not a joke. Like, what type of organising are you doing if I just see a pail of hashtag F5, I can't remember the hashtag, the colour, but if I'm just seeing white people on your Instagram page, do you think I want to organise with you? And I think that is play into the sort of legitimate disabled thing as well. It's the people who have more information, who can do an infographic, who have money, who can take off time off work to protest and things like that. It's like, yeah, like, I don't have anything more to say than, like, wow, if we don't like, we always talk about, like, oh, this set of people are going to be marginal, like, are going to be hurt by this the most. Then allow them to have a platform. Like, allow them to
reap, the fruits of your organising. What the fuck was that sentence? But you know what I mean. Like, allow them to be a part of it. Seek them out. Because you just post on Instagram is only half the battle. You need to go out and seek out those people who are the most marginalised and help them. Like, what? And it's just, and again, it goes back to who are they really fighting for? It's even things like writing to your MPs, talking to your MPs and blah, blah, blah. Like, who do MPs really care about? It's capital. It's capital. So, if me, Negro, writes to an MP and says, hey, maybe don't try and kill me, they're like, oh, but you deserve it because Negro. Compared to someone else who writes to their MP and it's like, oh, they have African and blah, 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 maybe I should listen. Like, I want people to really think about what they're asking for. Point number 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3. We're almost there, people. Is, again, same Berlin group or whatever. And this is not them, to be fair, because there's another group in England. I actually don't even know what their name is. But they say the same thing. And it kind of frustrates me. But I'm not saying I have the inside track. No, I have a bit more knowledge about how this is going to work because I do work in the charity sector, I work in the education sector, I work in emergency medicine, so I know how this shit would work if it were to be a possibility, and I think people need to get a bit more specific on what they're asking for. It's when people talk about treatment for long COVID, I implore people to go back and think about the AIDS epidemic. Because there was a certain time, or a certain point in time, where treatment was available, but it was so expensive. It was so, like, it was almost like a rumour of, like, how you could get treated. And there were, like, these secret, but like these well-known affluent pharmacies or clinics that would treat you for HIV and things like that. So who do you think got access to those clinics? And what did people have to do for that sort of treatment for HIV to be readily available? Question for the audience: is HIV treatment still readily available, or are we having to still fundraise, scrimp and save, outsource, blah blah blah, to get adequate HIV treatment for people? Now, folks in the audience, who's the most affected by HIV? And that's the issue I have with the statement of get treatment for long COVID. It's not that I don't want treatment for long COVID. I don't want treatment for ME. That's not the question at all. It's just we need to be a bit harsher. We need to be a bit more demanding. Because who should we treat? Who should have access to it? Who should it be free for? Or who should get it first? Maybe not that, but you know what I mean. Like, yeah, I see patterns. I see things repeating. And I see that a bunch of people are about to be left out. uh if we really go down this route. You know what? Let me stop being facetious and start being blunt. I saw another tweet with like this billboard thing of outside Westminster, and it was like one of the first thing. I hate the long COVID billboards. I want to start. Something redacted. People when it comes to the billboards, but it's like this televised billboard thing, and it was like, oh, these are the people being affected by long COVID, white people. And let's dig in a little bit further before I end this. Who do you think is even being diagnosed with long COVID? Because I am someone who I have, and let me focus on me for a second because I'm a really good example. I probably was one of the first people that caught a Saturn in March 2020, specifically the year or the month, sorry, that there was a lockdown. I have only gotten a diagnosis of EDS. Yeah. And I've only got a diagnosis of EDS, even though there are so many other things that are wrong with me. And a doctor full out told me that he expected me to sort of go away at a certain point because he just thought I would get better. Why that is, I don't know, but I have so many other things wrong with me, but I don't even have a diagnosis, right? So, for someone like me who is knowledgeable of long COVID, I was kind of like, I'm not going to say patient zero, but I was like patient like 15 with some of the things going on, right? Like, there are other black folks that do not have this information and probably won't ever access this information because they don't know what the fuck is wrong with them. So it's like, yeah, let's get treatment of long COVID, blah, blah, blah. But let's take a step back. Do people even know they've got long COVID? If we can acknowledge that the education and the sort of public PR around COVID has been quite limited, then what are we doing to get to the black and brown people? Sorry, I hate that phrase. But what are we doing to get to the black folks and the marginalised folks to tell them, hey baby, you might have long COVID. You might have ME, you might have POTS. Because if someone came to me in 2020 and said, babe, this sounds like POTS, and I'm like, not going to get emotional, but I try not to think about it, because there are so many things that I could have prevented on doing. What? There are so many things that I would have not done if I knew that a lot of the symptoms I have were EDS and POTS. So, yeah, like, I have a huge criticism for the organising that is happening right now in mass, even from traditional style organisers and, you know, new people that are on the scene. I don't think enough is happening in terms of like outreach. And you know, just because we gave masks to a refugee centre. Okay. We gave masks to black people who suffered from the LA fires. What are you doing tomorrow, babe? Like, the fact that you feel the need to even announce it tells me that it's more charity than organising. And that's it. And do you know what? I'm gonna end this on the Hill of Hope. We've made it up to the Hill of Hope. Anusha's been mean for an hour and a half. We're back to the Hill of Hope. Yeah, talking about, I usually give them, so meaning black people, masks in goodie bags with info. Exactly. Because it takes years for doctors to even listen to black people, even if the symptoms are obvious. Yeah. Because we need to be critical of who is going to have access. Exactly. And like regarding to HIV, most affected by HIV with the least access is POC, especially poor people and refugees, because combo of lack of health access in both places they are finding, they are fleeing, and they are fleeing too. Exactly. And I think the one thing I want to end this on is, whatever happens, we continue to organise, right? It is giving people info with goodie bags. You know, it is like me. I don't leave my house a lot, but I live on an estate, right? So what I can do is leave colourful leaflets outside my door for people to take and read, and people have. It's having conversations with people in your community, maybe people you've been friends with for years, and being, I suppose, critical, or giving them information, telling them what's going on. Like with my family, for example, I'm talking about bird flu a lot because they live by a lot of farms, and I am just hammering in, clean your shoes, mask on all times, stay away from birds, all that kind of stuff. Like, that is the work. That is what is going to be done. It is even having my friend Lily came up with this. Everything has hit the fan sort of pot that everyone puts money into. And if someone is going through a crisis, yes, we will crowdfund, we will do all the things, but okay, here is $100, £100 to get you started. Get yourself an Uber, get yourself an Airbnb, get yourself a hotel, and we'll figure out the rest from there. It's stuff like that. Like I said, it's not the solution, and I don't think the solution will ever be reached in one place or whatever. But I think the organising, the sort of the next step, for example, it is just doing it every day. It's praxis. Like, to be quite blunt, and this is a me thing, right? I don't like writing to the MP. One, data safety thing. Since I've been writing to my MP, I will say that I did get a lot of fucking weird emails, and I just didn't like that shit, so no. I will write to an MP to, like, bully them, sure, but I'm not gonna write to the MP to, like, beg for my life. That's a me thing. I don't know. I'm sorry. Like, these are the same people who can't even be bothered to protest lightly by just not going into work that day, and all just quit their jobs over these benefit cuts, over Palestine, over a lot of things actually. But you want me to write to them? Okay, like, sure, but that's a me thing. But that is just like one sort of measly thing you can do out of a bunch of other things you can do, and it doesn't have to be monetary. It can literally be, okay, I'm giving you information. You can not take it, but at least you fucking know. And let me tell you, someone will take it. Someone will take it. But yeah. Anyway, go back to our schedule. We are on the last 5 minutes. And I do have a surprise. So I'll just have 5 more minutes of your time. But before I go, because I'll probably forget to say this, thank you for coming today. It's been really lovely to chat and bitch and get this out of the way. It is really nice to have a sort of, I guess, platform, but I wouldn't really call it a platform. But it's just nice to talk to people, you know, because I think, like, for me, this is my work. This is my thing that I do. I'm able to make protest art. What? Sorry, I don't think I'm in the right place. Hold on. It's fun to make protest art in a way that, like, look, if 5 people hear my song, but they're just happy that they're being heard, then my job's done, babe. Like, you know? But the surprise! So, Scapegoats. My song Scapegoats is a song that people listen to. Came out in October. Spooky season. And I've decided to do a couple of things before I release the next project. Wink, wink. I've decided to do a little Scapegoat series, a couple of remixes, a couple of things that are going on, and that's gonna be throughout the whole of April, and then May will be new music time. Have I got my months right? January, February, March, April, May. Yeah, I know months. And the first single will be on this YouTube channel. So if you're watching this in the future, make sure you subscribe to be the first to hear, because it's not going to be on Spotify. It will only be on YouTube. It will only be on SoundCloud. Then it will only be on Bandcamp, and it will be out around April. And the surprise is I'm working with another YouTuber, which I'm really happy about, because it's just nice to have some help at times. That has been my goal for this year, is just to go for it and ask for help for people. So yeah, I'm asking for help, and he said yes. I'm very excited. He did such a good job, like, and was so patient with me because this is so new. That'll be out next week, Wednesday. So, like I said, make sure you subscribe. You don't need to remember any of this. Just know that things are happening on this channel. But yeah, I don't want to spoil it just yet, because it is a little bit of like a, I don't want to say a theatre piece, but it's a little bit of performance art. But yeah, so very excited, very happy. Scapegoats is being remade 3 or 4 times. I don't know if some of you remember, but do you remember when I asked about what sort of covers I should do on YouTube? I took that on board. So yeah, that's it. Also, that's the end of the stream. You can go if you want. There's nothing more that's being said here. I will say, I'm listening to a band that was recommended called called the Distillers. An Irish band called the Distillers. Boy, does the lead singer sound like Courtney Love. Oh my god. Like, I never need to interact with Courtney Love in my life again because I have the Distillers. What a beautiful thing to have, you know? Because I used to like Courtney Love, but I just can't. Divorce. Yuck. But yikes. But yeah. And yeah, it is the remixes. Remixes. Oh, I do. He must have reheated her nachos. Yes. Yes, they did. Yeah, no, I love the Distillers. Again, they've got one. I'm stuck on like ethically sourced Courtney Love. Oh, but I love when that happens. I love when that happens, where you find a band that are sort of like another band, but they're just a bit better in terms of like their morals. So you're like, I guess I'll stick with you. Like, but yeah, I've got one more cover I need to figure out. Because I think one thing I always try and do when I make music is I try and make music. I try to cover people who look like me, or I try and cover people who, again, I sort of align with. It doesn't always work because people turn out to be dicks and there's not really much you can do about it. But I really do try and, you know, show people covers or people who they might not always be exposed to, right? So I think that's what I'm gonna do, and yeah, I'm just excited. There's gonna be a bunch of performances. There's gonna be maybe a live or two, maybe a live performance, who knows. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I don't know why they're not as popular. Do you know what? This is an unusual opinion. I don't think it's fully true, but follow me. I think it's because they just make music and go to bed. Like, I did some research on, well, I say research, I just kind of googled them for a bit, and I didn't really find out much. And I was like, wow, you really just make music and then have a nap. And I'm like, I love that. But I think sometimes, especially in that genre, I think it, like, controversy grabs people, and in this case, what is there to be controversial about, right? So a lot of people are just like, well, I can just get my controversy over there. And yeah, I think the only thing I will never let go of whole is Celebrity Skin. In my personal opinion, nobody has done a good cover of that song. But I think I love Celebrity Skin because that song introduced me to that genre of music. Like, that started the, what's the word? Like, the cogs in my head of like, ooh, I like this genre. Yeah, no, so I will never let go of Celebrity Skin per se, but the rest of that can go, you know? I'm also looking at stuff that's a bit, I won't say older, but like stuff that's a bit British. Because we have a really peculiar culture of singers in that sort of genre. Because, like, I'm really tempted to cover the Noisettes. If you remember, go baby, go baby, go. Like, really tempted to cover the Noisettes. I think my voice would suit it. But have you heard the Noisettes' earlier stuff? It's a lot weirder. it's a lot more. It's a lot more. Not alternative. Well, it is a lot more punkier. Let's start off there. But it's a lot more left field. Oh my god. Yeah, it's a lot more left field. And yeah, because same. Because I too say the same about Gwen Stefani. I like don't acknowledge anything else. I'm like, no, that's not you. That's not you, Queen. Me not think about you. Same. If you haven't heard of the Noisettes, go listen to the Noisettes. And I say this nicely, but you probably have heard the Noisettes because they were like everywhere. But because British and also a black woman, you might have not been able to put name to face sort of thing. But I'm really tempted to cover the Noisettes. That'll be a lot of fun. They are, if I were to describe them in one sentence, think British, Janelle Monáe, less synths, more guitars. That is the Noisettes. Yeah. Sorry, went on a tangent. I'm just talking for the sake of talking now. I'm gonna go lie down. It's good to know that I've got I don't know if you can see, but I've got a backrest and a bum rest, and sitting down hasn't been the worst. So I will give myself credit in the sense that I've been able to sit up. Oh, actually, babe, we'll do it. Let's have a listening thing. I don't mind listening to an album. You know, on is that intentionally a pun on the word noise and noisettes? No. But you know what? I do think this by accident because I am an entertainer. But we can listen to the Noisettes together. Saying that, do you want to listen to them now? How would I do that? Ooh, technology. Is it intentionally a pun